So this is our day 12 for Selenium course. Today we will understand what is class and what is object, as well as what is method. Method is same as like we did function, same thing. And this is a good website where you can understand about theoretically and practically about classes and objects, but we are going to see in a practical way also. Okay, so most of you may have heard about a very bookish definition of class is class is any real world entity, something like this, right? Class is any real world entity, right? But it looks very simple, like what we are saying, right? But we have to understand what is called a real world entity and how we can define it as class. Okay? So we'll understand now what is real world entity. So anything which you see is real world entity. Whatever name you um, you can see in real world is actually real world entity. But in programming, it's not like that. You can make a class for table, chair, curtain, fridge, scooter. It's not like that. We have to understand what generalized property any real world entity can have. Right? So for that, I'll show you a simple example here. Right? So when we say there are multiple dogs, right? Dog 1, dog 2, dog 3, dog 4. Every dog will have some common properties like breed, they must be having their age and their color. These three things will always be there, correct? Just concentrate about these attributes. These are called attributes, let's say. So you can define anything when you see any real world entity, whether you can generalize something or not. So for example, car can be real world entity because every car will have some kind of engine, maybe color can also be there, number of gears, right? There may be 0 gear, but it's a number of gears. Okay? Let's say student. When we say student, every student will have some kind of unique identification like roll number. Every student will have some name, section, let's say, or address, correct? So these are called state or attributes. Technically, this is called state or attributes of any real world entity. And there will be another thing is behavior. Behavior is what can be implied to the real world entity. What are the things they can do, or what are the things you can do on those real world entities? It's like this. So behaviors for in this example is, let's say, bark, sleep, eat, right? There may be multiple, or there may be zero behavior. That is also fine. So bark is a kind of function. Sleep is a kind of function. Eat is some kind of function, right? So in Java, we'll say whatever you have state and attribute are called class level variables. And whatever behavior you can define, that will be called class level methods or functions. Let me clarify this again. So for example, let's say classical example is a student only. So you have student. Now what student will have? Student will have roll number. Student will have name and section and address. As of now, I'm keeping just very simple like this only. These things one student will have. Then student will have some kind of activity also. For example, any student will, like action, like will go school or will go home. Anything you can write. What else? Read. Whatever you can think. Right? We cannot fix it. It depends on what are the functions you want to implement for student. But obviously there will be like mm, attendance related thing. So calculate attendance, maybe that kind of function will be here. Calculate or get attendance, whatever. So these are the name given by us. It's not Java thing. Whatever you are seeing here is not like Java will say you have to do this thing. It's not like that. We as a programmer will decide what we have to do. So these can be converted as a class, and you will define this thing in class level. How you can do that? Very simple one. Let's see the real example. So we will make a class student. And I'm making a main function also. So here, if you see, we want to define this model where roll number, name, section, and address are state. These are called state or attribute. And this is behavior or methods. So when we say attributes, okay, let's define, but that will be at class level. Okay, that will be at class level because roll number, name, and section address are part of class. It's not part of any function. It's a part of class. So we will define, let's say at very start, what we will do, int roll underscore number, and what we have, name, string name, okay, and char section. So we are assuming that section will be single character, like section A, B, C, or D, whatever. And again, let's say string address. This is student's address, not school's address. It's student's address. Okay. And where will be this functions? Go school. Go school will be independent function. This will be public static or just public void go school. Okay, one function. There may be multiple function like read. I guess attend class will be good. Attend subject, something like this. That would be better instead of read. Yeah, because what student does? Attending the subjects, right? So public void attend subject. Okay, and calculate attendance. Fine. Public void calculate attendance. Pardon me for spelling as of now. Okay, fine. So this model we converted. Now the question is, what will happen with this? Why we have declared here? Here comes the concept of object. And object is, believe me, is a very simple thing. Object is, in a very simple language, is photocopy. It's a copy of class. It's just a copy of class. So when I'm saying copy of class, what will happen is whenever you create object of student, so first let's understand how to create object of student. So because student is just template, this is just a template. This is just a template. If you want to work on any student, you have to declare it. So I'm going back to that diagram here. The class is dog, but if you want to have multiple dogs, then you have to declare object. Dog 1, dog 2, dog 3, dog 4. Right? In the same way, we have to create object of this class. And what's the syntax for that? Syntax for that is class name and then object name. You can put any name. So I'm putting S1 is equals to new student. Student S1 is equals to new student. Now let me increase the font. Okay. Student S1 is equals to new student. So what will happen with this statement? This is the way to create one object. But what will happen? It will create a copy of this student. So when I say copy, actually this part will be copied and one space will be allocated in memory and its reference, as of now, let's understand that its name will be S1. So you can create as many objects. It's not just one. You can create another one. Okay. So, but then to create this one, you have to write again, like something like, let's say student S2 is equals to new student, something like this. So in that case, it will create S2. Okay. And this will be blank values. This all will be blank values. There will be no value. There will be just roll number will be 0, name will be null, right? Or blank thing. Section will be also blank. Address will be null. Right? For all these values will be blank. So what I'm saying here is, and where you will create the object, you can create the object anywhere in this class or outside the class. But as of now, we are creating in our main function. So we'll write student s1 is equals to new student. Done. And now if you want to fill the values, like what is the roll number, and you want to fill what will be the name, and you want to fill what will be the section, right? All those values you want to fill here. So let's say I want to fill roll number as 12, name as something ABC as of now, and I want to fill section as uh, B, and I want to fill address. Some address I'll put, don't worry. Okay, I want to fill these values. How I'll do it? It's very simple. Once you create the object, you can simply say s1 dot. So see here, automatically it is showing us what are the things you can do. So it's saying you can put the address, you can put the name, you can put the roll number, you can put the section. So let's put it one by one. So s1 dot address is equals to somewhere in India. I'm just writing random thing. Then s1 dot name is equals to topology, or any student name you can put. S1 dot roll number is equals to 12, and S1 dot section is equals to, we want to put capital B. Done. So these values are filled now in the background. So if you want to display this, so we already know how to display the values. Either you can just do system.out.println. One way is, I'll do it like this. System.out.println. One by one, you can print address, s1 dot address, okay, plus \n, that will change the line, plus s1 dot name plus \n plus s1 dot roll number plus \n, just a minute, okay, plus \n is already done, s1 dot, what was missing, section. Done. So this is how you will print it. So let's run this program. If I run this and see here, we have not done anything with this function, and it doesn't matter. You can create it. Another thing is, even if you create it, until you will call that function, right, those things will not get executed. Execution starts from the main function. So these things will get executed. So if we run this program, it will simply put somewhere in India. All these details are coming. Whatever we have put in s1 dot address, name, roll number, and section. And if you want to create another object, the same thing you have to repeat, but then instead of S1, then that will become S2, right? In the next line, you can do it, no problem. You can again say, you can replace all the S1 with, let me replace this. I want to replace it with S2, okay? And replace find, one by one I'll do. Done. So that will be for next student. Obviously, you will change the things, right? So let's say that is Pune, name is Raja, roll number is 13, section is C. But in that case, you have to print it, okay? So this time it will print two students detail. Here, let's printing this detail. So what is object? Again, object is just copy of class. But when you say copy of class, only the variable comes to the copy. This function is not copied. Functions are, you can simply call those functions, right? Functions will not get copied for every object. Object will have just variables. And that is why these variables which you declare at class level are called instance variable. Instance variable. Why this is called instance variable? Because this variable goes with the instance. Object and instance, both words are used interchangeably. So it's same. When you say instance and object, both are same. You can use word instance also. So you create an instance S1, you create an instance S2. You can say in that way also. How, if it is still difficult for you to understand, let's understand how you make what we say bread, how breads are made, right? There are some kind of mold available. Why every bread size is same? Or let me give you another simple example, like how you make this idli, right? There is a proper mold, we call in Hindi, it's like sacha is there, right? And what you do, you fill something and exact same kind of idli is made, correct? So what is that? That is object. You create the basic things here, let's say, and then you create just the objects, copy of it, one by one, one by one. You can fill different values, that's a different thing, but actually, basically it is what we say, it's same, it's of same size, it's with the same kind of ingredients. Then you can do overwrite it, then you can put your own stuff, spices on all, right? You can change it once it is made, but actually that is basically when you create it, every object will be exactly same. Values are a different thing, okay? Values you have to put. You can create as many objects. So what is main function? So main is part of class every time in Java class. Main function is the place from where system will get start execution. Okay, so you cannot change. If you change it like main2, that will become a normal function. That will become a normal function. Let's change it. I change it to main2. Let's run this program. Okay, it is not able to run. It is asking me run configuration. Why? because it is not able to recognize where is main function. Let's come back to main, and now we will run it. Now it's saying run as Java application. That means it understands that if there is a main function, then we'll start the execution from here. Okay. Without main, can we run the program? So basic answer for this question, without main, can we run the program, is no. If it is a Java program, then main function is required. But contrary to this, if you ask me that, is it possible to have a class without main? Yes, that is possible. A class without a main function is possible. Yes, possible. Now your next question will be, then what that class will do? So there is a possibility that there is a class which will not have any main function, but it can have other functions. So when we create object of that kind of class, we'll call directly those functions. So that is possible. That is possible. But then we have to call these functions from another class. We will see that example. That's an intelligent question, and we will see that thing. We'll see that example, that if a class will not have a main function, first thing is we cannot execute it. That will be executed from another class. We will see that example. Then access specifier of this variable. So here we have another session for understanding the access specifier thing. Here, when you do not define anything, it is default. This is nothing public or private. It is default. Default, we are not writing it default, but default is also a kind of access specifier. So now the question is, what is access specifier? So access specifier decides that where you can access this variable. So for example, here when you have declared it under student, if you have this variable, you can access this anywhere in your program. You can access these variables anywhere in your program. I'll show you quickly that example. So for example, I'm deleting this. Control X. Instead of this, I'm making a function. Public void display. And that will just display the detail. And then you don't have to write s1.address, because this function, display function, don't know what is s1. S1 is defined in the main function. So I'm deleting all. And then just after this, you can call the function like this, s1 dot display. Okay. In the same way, see here how useful is the function. You don't have to write it again, delete it. Simply say s2 dot display. Done. So the number of lines are decreased, right? Because we are just calling a reusable function, and that will do its own task. So display's task is to display the values like address, name, roll number. Now the question is how it will get to know that it has to display s1.address, s1.name, s1.roll number, s1.section. It will not get confused because you are calling it from s1. So this is function call. Okay. And this is function definition. Function definition part in this way. So let's run this. If I run this program, this is printing me. Fine. So access specifier we will see. By default, this is default. So there are other access specifier like public, private, and protected. Right? We will see that thing. What these are called. So with the variable, you can put private, something like this. Before when you are declaring a particular variable, you can say private. Private means it's a private property of this class. Private means this name is the private property of this class and no other class can use this, right? We will see one example. And no other class functions will use name. It's like this, of this student name. It's like this. And there is another thing called protected, that we will understand. Today I don't want to cover those things. People will get confused. Can we make main method private? So sometimes you may have thousands of questions. Now you guys should be in a position to get answer on your own. Why not like search in a Google? You will read something, you will get a lot of different, you know, answers, but basically it will lead to the same kind of answer, right? Yeah, but if you have asked, you cannot create main as a private. You have to declare main as public only. So you declare it. Syntax wise, there is no issue, the problem, right? As of now, it's saying the method main from the type student is never used locally. Okay. So what it is saying, if you have made it, okay, let's run this. Can we run it? So again, it is not able to run. So you cannot have main function as private. And the reason behind it, this program will be run by JVM, Java Virtual Machine. And how JVM works is it will run from the outside, right? This program, when you run it, do you think it is running from the Eclipse? Eclipse is just a way to write the program. Actually, it is converted it to dot class. It's very fast. Converted it to dot class, and that class file get run. When you are every time when you are running it, background dot class is created. That is getting executed. Okay. So JVM understands that it has to execute main function, and because you are executing from the outside, it has to be public. It's like this. Okay. Fine. Let's move to the next thing. So we are completed with what is class, what is object, and what is method. Now coming to the method part. Now if you see, this is one method. You can make any number of methods. You can create go school. Okay, so here you can have like anything you can declare. You can pass any variable. So let's say this function, mm, when you are calling, it won't do anything. It will just print that I am under go to school, or let's do some meaningful thing. So we will understand today about how you can pass the parameter. So you can call this function, right? So I'll call it s1 dot go to school, and in go school I will pass I will pass address because student will go from one place to another place. So I'm passing address. What is address? Address is a string. Fine. So you have to catch the address in this function. So I'm, let's say, doing ADR, and here I'll print student going school from home address, and in the next line we will print the address, let's say. So system.out.println ADR. Okay, don't worry about it, it's not a big deal, we'll understand it. Okay, so this is showing me error, change address to static. Okay, cannot make a static reference to the non-static field address. Okay, so first of all, let me okay, this is a string defined here. Okay, so when I'm passing this, it's better to pass s1 dot address, not just address, because it should be very clear which address you're talking about. I'm talking about s1 dot address. Okay, fine. So I'm calling a function go school, and I'm passing one address value. This address value is nothing but this, somewhere in India. Okay, and what this will do, if you want to go to the definition part, the shortcut is you can click on control and click here on the function names. So this is here, and what this will do, let me put it at the end this, okay, so that it will be visible at the same place. Okay, let's concentrate on, I am making this also before S1, that's fine. Okay, we'll concentrate on this part only. Okay, so what we did, we created an object, fine, that will create the blank thing. So this will be blank, there is no value, let's say, and you are putting all the values. Okay, address is this, name is this, roll number is this, and section is this. Fine, this thing you are filling the values for that object. Now you are calling a display function. Display will do what? It will just display what is the address, name, and roll number and section. Then you are calling another function go school, and you're passing one address, one value. It's not like it's a string. This is one string, correct? This as one dot address is nothing but one string. So when you are calling this with a string, this string you have to catch it. So that's a rule. If you're passing a kind of data type, you have to receive with the same kind of data type. And you can put the name here, anything, like you, it's a user defined variable. Now let's understand. This is called actual parameter. So when you are passing the value, so when you are calling a function and the value which you pass is called actual parameter, and at the receiving end, when there is a function definition, you get it into another variable. This is called formal parameters. Formal parameters. Okay, just a theory. You should just understand that this, and it's logical, right? This is the actual thing which you are passing, correct? And this is just a formal thing, and this is the local variable to this function. It's a kind of local variable. Nobody knows outside the world if I want to print system.out and println ADR. that will show me an error. It doesn't know what is ADR. It's saying ADR cannot be resolved to a variable, right? Okay, deleting this. So ADR, so this address will go to ADR, and what we are doing, we are printing something and then printing the same ADR. So let's see how this will execute. Let me put a debug point here and here so that you will get to know what is happening. So I'm running this program. Run as, no, debug as Java application. If you see here, program is stopped or paused at 26th line. What it does, okay, it has displayed, because of 15th line, it is displaying the S2 detail. It is coming to the 19th line, and then 2020 line, 21st line, 22nd line, just filling the values, 23rd line, then calling this display. Because of that, these details are getting displayed for S1. Okay, and then you call this function go to school. If I hover over this, if I hover over this, it will show you the details. See here, it's showing me at the right hand side. See there, it is showing me all the values inside the S1. Address is this, name is this, roll number is this, section is this. Great. And we are calling this function, and I am continuing with the execution. See here, the control is jumped to 32nd line. It's not because it is on continuation. It is because we call this function. This function can be anywhere, maybe at the 1000 line, maybe at the 500 line, wherever this function will be, it will be called. And I am do mouse over here. So see here, this somewhere in India has come to this address. You pass this, it has come to here. So actual parameter is when you are calling a function, when you pass any value, that is called actual parameter in function call. So when there is a function call, you pass some value. If you are passing a value, that will be called actual parameter. And at the receiver end, this variable is called formal parameters. Nothing, it's just a theory, don't worry about it. And see here, this ADR has somewhere in India, so we are printing this line, then going to the next line, and then we are printing that somewhere in India. So that is getting printed because of this 33rd line. Now it is that 34th line. It will go back to 28th line because this execution is done, and we are done with this. Let's make another function. So we will make attend subject. Okay. We'll just print it so that as of now, just understand that control jumps to different function based on how you called it, when you called it. So I'm just writing here, um, let's say attending all subject, something like this. Okay. And calculate attendance, we are not writing anything as of now. Let's call this function. So you can call it like s1 dot um, attend subject, done. So it's not mandatory that you will pass some value. If you're passing it, you have to catch it. If you're not passing, that's fine. Okay, so this attend subject is not receiving any value. It's just doing its own thing. Whatever code will come, we are just writing something, but actual code will come, like how to, what kind of subject they are attending and what. Okay, let's run this program, and what will happen, let's see. So if we are doing it, see here, Once this go to school is done, it is printing attending all subject. Why? Because we called this function. So control will jump here. It will do its own task. It will come back, and you can call multiple times. So I want to call display again. So I can simply copy paste here. I want to print the detail 2 times. That's fine. So execution will happen on the sequence. S1 dot displays, because of S1 dot display, this is getting printed. Then because of S1 dot go to school, this is getting printed. Then because of S1 dot attend subject, this is getting printed. And then you again call S1 dot display. That is why this is again printed. Okay. So this is all about class, object, and functions.